Hello, my name is Indy Cousin.
I'm Rory Britt.
And we are representatives from Wake Forest University using our independent advisory group to Governor Wolf, Wake Wins LLC, to present our best ideas for empowering women business leaders.
So very quickly, I'm going to take you through our winning position. So as we can see, we're going to start with a background. Then we're going to look at the ethical, legal, and financial implications of the issue. And then we're going to round things out with a policy suggestion for Governor Wolf.
Firstly, diving into the context of this issue is crucial to having a clear understanding of why exactly gender diversity is just so important. Governor Wolf, according to this quote here, has made it a clear priority of his administration to not only allow women to access their full potential, but also allow companies to break down the barriers in which hinder that. So clearly he's accounting for the backward-looking justification or the historical inequalities that women have faced not only in society but also in the workplace. Women constitute a mere 20% of global executive corporate seats. And further, according to that same New York Times article, the probability that a female becomes a CEO in her lifetime is a mere half that of a man. Now, this does paint a pretty grim reality about our problem with gender diversity and historic inequalities regarding women, but Rory and I have a more optimistic, positive, forward-looking view that says that companies can be excited to have more women representatives because that means they'll see 74% higher returns in their financial sector. Further, we'll draw from John Stuart Mill's On Liberty that says that it's redundant to allow ideas to come for the same 50% of the population. Not accessing the potential of women simply goes against our fundamental values.
We need women to have the freedom to be able to elevate themselves to those top-level executive positions, and then to elevate even more women and to build a culture where women are equal to men in that business society.
And for that reason, we think that we will build the thesis that incentivization and not simply regulation, as seen in that Californian model, is the way forward to promising that that backward and forward-looking position can be reconciled.
So then let's take a look very quickly at our three core constituencies for this issue, which are women, industries, and our nation's leaders. So then let's take a look at the ethical implications.
Firstly, we'll look towards women, who must access their full potential of liberty by seeing and realizing all opportunities that are endowed in a company. This is an unalienable democratic right that, again, according to John Stuart Mill, must be ensured for women.
As liberty also applies to much of our financial sector, we believe that industries should have the liberty to make their own free decision-making processes and to strive for profit how they desire. We also believe, though, that companies that seek profit will see that it is best to employ more women and to place them in better executive positions.
And to substantiate that point, we draw from Adam Smith's classic text about capitalism that says rational individuality and free decision-making is going to be the biggest crux of that profitable functionality. But also the nation's leaders should reconcile their interests in liberty Also, the nation's leaders should reconcile liberty by understanding that the democratic values of liberty as well as the business and the industry sector's values of liberty should come together and form a functional system.
So then how does that liberty translate? Well, we have to look at the legality of the issue. And to do that, we're going to look at three specific Supreme Court cases.
Firstly, the 1938 case entitled United States versus Caroline Products Company was a monumental Supreme Court case that identified women as among other disadvantaged groups as being, quote, suspect classes. These suspect classes have faced historic denials of their liberties and other rights and therefore deserve, quote, heightened judicial scrutiny in future cases going forward.
We also need to look at the 1978 Supreme Court case Bakke versus UC Davis Medical School, in which it was noted that in an admissions process, diversity is a noble goal, but you cannot establish quotas for diverse candidates, one of those including gender. We believe that if companies are going to be regulated, the government will be effectively pulling them into the public sphere, which means that they will be governed by the Supreme Court case, and there are significant legal ramifications for establishing quotas through regulation.
In fact, the rhetoric used in that 1978 Bakke case is very, very important because they said that, quote, amounting quotas would lead to discrimination against other qualified candidates. So when you do elevate or set a certain set of seats aside for some candidates, that will amount to converse effects for other qualified people that could be admitted in that process. So our nation's leaders do have a fundamental interest in not only protecting women as a disadvantaged and suspect class, but also protecting excluding businesses from the quotas that are deemed unconstitutional in that court case.
So to round things out, we're going to look at the financial implications. First, we're going to see that for women, companies that hire more female executives see that they are also hiring more women. And considering the fact that women at top-level executive positions are the only women to earn complete pay parity with men, by elevating more women into these positions, we can help potentially lower that gender wage gap that we see, improving the lives of millions of women in America.
But further, industries and other business leaders should see proportional effects if they employ more women as well. As an increase in 1% of representation, according to the Peterson Institute, amounts to a margin increase of 1% as well. So the average company surveyed had a margin of 6.4%, which amounts to a 15% increase in profitability if companies were to go ahead and increase their gender diversity on corporate boards.
For our nation's leaders, in Pennsylvania, the current tax rate is put at $7,755 for a company to be able to qualify and commit all of their tax regulatory requirements. That is a significant financial burden that if we were to place undue regulations on corporations and impose a quota with financial penalties, would potentially drive jobs and revenue out of the state, potentially hurting Pennsylvania and Governor Wolf's administration. So then that takes us to our policy recommendation.
The Program for Incentivizing Diverse Leadership, or cleverly nicknamed PIDL, is Rory and I's idea for promoting the placement of women on corporate boards with over 50 full-time employees. It offers a tax incentive for companies who do show proportional placement of women on boards for women that have served the company over a year.
So if a company has at least 30% of women on their board, then they will see a 0.5% reduction from Pennsylvania's current 9.99% corporate tax rate, which is the second highest in the nation. If they have over 50% representation, that qualifies to essentially a 0.9% reduction. However, companies that do not increase female representation, again building on liberty, have the right not to do so, but also have the right not to benefit from PIDL and not to benefit from the significant financial, cultural, and societal benefits that we see from more women in these positions.
So let's dissect PIDL's effect on our winning constituencies. Firstly, women will be allowing themselves to realize their full liberties and break that glass ceiling that again promotes a barrier for women's advancement not only in the workplace, but in more generally society.
But corporations will still have the freedom to exercise their own decision-making and to not face undue penalties from the government for doing so.
Lastly, the nation's leaders will be gaining a huge benefit as Governor Wolf in particular will be benefiting all of his constituencies, again reconciling that democratic value of liberty for women, but also reconciling that liberty for industries. He's not only increasing—
Time has expired.
Thank you all very much for your time.